Day one of my week-long trip I've got planned here in Quetico Provincial Park, and it is absolutely gorgeous. The weather's supposed to be fantastic for the next week. We've got quite a bit of smoke from forest fires blowing in, but otherwise absolutely gorgeous.
In the early summer of 2023, with just over a week before leaving for the Yukon for a month of canoe tripping, I was really trying to squeeze in a trip to Quetico Provincial Park. It's one of my absolute favorite places in the world to paddle and explore, go fishing, but for some reason I hadn't been there in a couple of years. This particular trip, I'd follow a familiar path to previous trips I've taken there before, leaving from Stanton Bay and paddling towards Dory Lake, which was my goal for the first day. Didn't take too long before I made it to the first portage, which after traveling for 20 hours and sleeping in my car, I was actually excited to use my legs again and make my way to Dory Lake.
Made it to Dory Lake, and I think it's time to find a campsite for the night. It's not even 3 o'clock, but I'm tired. That drive has taken it out of me, so I'm really looking forward to finding a spot tonight, get a real good night's sleep, and be able to enjoy the rest of this trip without being too tired. Pretty nice spot.
After getting to my campsite, I noticed that Betty Lou was acting kind of weird. She was growling and barking, and then I heard a noise in the bush. So I grabbed my camera, and as silent as I could, I crept over to see what it was. I was surprised and definitely excited to see that it was a young bull moose just feeding behind my campsite. What a cool experience.
Had a really cool experience just a few minutes ago, just before dinner, with the young bull moose coming right into the campsite. I could hear some branches breaking and grabbed the camera and walked back, and sure enough, there he was, standing there, and he was trying to wind me, but he couldn't, just the direction of the wind. And he almost walked right into me. He was maybe 3 strides away from being right on top of me. So great first day.
I think sometimes it's easy to get a little bit anxious about making a long trip to a park for a canoe trip. It might not be worth it, but after day 1 of this trip, I couldn't have been more happy to be back in Quetico. What a place. Waking up day 2, I felt great. I'd gotten an awesome night's sleep and was ready to head down the infamous de Riviere onto Sturgeon Lake, a massive body of water that essentially takes you right into the heart of Quetico. It's the kind of lake you could spend your whole trip on and not get tired of.
Back on the water. Should be a great day. Come on, Luke. On the portage trail here, and Betty found this beaver skull. Look at this thing. Look at the tooth on that guy. Super interesting being back here in Quetico and thinking about my first real canoe trip here, which was quite a few years ago now, with Ashley and our 2 dogs. But that trip, for me at least, completely redefined what I thought an Ontario canoe trip was. Before that, most of my trips further south, quite a bit further south, were marked portage trails, fairly well maintained, marked campsites, and that's not what Quetico is. It was such an interesting experience, finding your own campsite, locating all the portages, and the fishing was amazing. It completely opened my eyes to what I now think of as a real canoe trip. Just a much different experience here. And I feel super lucky to be able to come back here and experience it again.
Feeling lucky to be back in Quetico was an understatement. That feeling that we got on the first trip, well, that's what got me completely hooked on backcountry canoe tripping. It was a wild ride though, that trip. Getting caught in a wildfire, not finding a campsite, and having to sleep on a portage trail. But we learned so much and we had so much fun.
Ooh, nice low. That's got to be the easiest trip down to Riviere I've ever had. That was awesome. There was a couple feet of water almost the whole way. Only one beaver dam I had to pull over, and everything else was just drift across the top. I've even got a slight tailwind pushing me along here, which never seems to happen as every canoeist knows. So far, so good.
Times and places are all in who you share
First
them
fish
with.
of the trip here, Betty. Sit.
And it's life and the
Little pike.
enjoying who you share it with. Enjoying
There we go.
who you share
See you,
it
buddy.
with. And the weeks and the weekends are keeping close who you spending with.
Not a bad little guy. Way you go, buddy. Another fish here just through the narrows. Actually not a bad, little pike. Little pike. Come here. Get off the hook here. Okay, there he goes. See you, buddy.
After spending some time catching fish, a tailwind helped make my travel across Sturgeon Lake feel almost effortless. With this trip really being a last-minute decision, I didn't quite have an exact route picked out yet. I had a couple ideas though, and camping on Fred Lake ended up being a great stopping point for the day. It was also central for both my loop ideas. My first idea was to head down Fred Lake towards Camel and Varon, and loop back around through the Death March portages. That doesn't sound like a lot of fun to me. My second idea was to head down the Allen Creek, which park staff had actually crossed out on my map and said it was a bit of a disaster. I'd have to spend my evening looking over the map and make a final decision. Regardless, I knew that day 3 was going to be a lot of work.
We're not fishing right now. We're not fishing. No. Got to decide what I want to do tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure whether I want to go down towards Varon Lake, Camel Lake, that area, or if I want to work my way down the Allen Creek, I believe it's called, towards Poohbah Lake. Lots of options, lots of time left, and I'm hungry. Looking forward to dinner tonight. Oh, on the water. It's around 7:30 in the morning and it's an absolutely gorgeous day out. I decided that I'm going to start going down the Allen Creek and I want to see what it's all about. When somebody says that it's a slog, it's a rough go, it kind of intrigues me even more to just go see it. and find out for myself. So that's the plan for the day. We're gonna try and make it to Poohbah Lake, me and Lou, and it should be a great day.
The beginning of the day started out just fine, but it didn't take very long at all to discover that this route clearly didn't see much use at all. The further I made it down the creek and through multiple portages, the harder everything became. It was just going to be one of those days.
Must be getting close to a portage here because we're running real low on water. Clearly this portage isn't used very often. Is this the trail? Maybe. Follow you. So the portage comes out here, but the creek is too shallow to paddle, so I'm gonna have to bushwhack another few hundred meters or more until I find a spot that's deep enough for me and Lou to get in the canoe and paddle. Oh, not easy going through here. Starting to see why this is not a well-used route. There is very, very, very little water here right now, and still got a decent ways to go, and it's looking more and more like this is going to be a really long day. But it's kind of cool. There's nobody here. This might be one of those once-in-a-lifetime experiences. Another one to add to the collection. Hey Lou. So I've decided that it's going to be faster to bushwhack across this burn area behind me than it is to be carrying on this creek. So it's about a half a kilometer bushwhack. Since this burn is fairly recent, most of the trees haven't fallen down yet, which makes it doable. So should be a good time. I don't see myself going back and doing that route again. That was a rough morning, but made it, and we're on Allen Lake right now. I still got 2 more portages to get to Poohbah tonight, but time's at 2 o'clock. Should be there by 5 or so, hopefully. Yeah, that's there's a definite reason why the lady at the park office said that this was a route that you might not want to do. Come on. Made it to Bernice Lake after what felt like about the longest 400-meter portage I've ever done. Maybe even a little bit more work than I was expecting. I think in my head I thought the creek was going to be challenging, and it certainly was, but I didn't anticipate the portages at the end being as difficult as they are. That's okay. Okay, Lou, come on. Made it to Poohbah Lake, and thankfully that last portage was actually in a really good shape for the most part. But I think I brought pretty much every mosquito from Quetico with me in the canoe here. Find a campsite and get some rest, make some dinner, and enjoy this evening. It's going to be a nice evening, and I'm tired.
Sometimes it feels like the canoeing gods reward you for your hard work, and today was one of those days. I honestly couldn't have asked for a nicer campsite than this perfect little island in the middle of Poohbah Lake. It even had a breeze to keep the bugs away and a flat grassy spot for the tarp. I'd spend the remainder of the evening resting up and relaxing, as I knew that even though today was tough, tomorrow might be even harder. so I had to make my way up the Malign River, paddling through rapids with no portages, as I tried to make my way back towards Sturgeon Lake.
Birds down at this end of the lake are just, there's a lot of them singing like crazy. Good girl, keep going. Good girl, Betty.
It'd taken me longer than expected, but eventually I'd made my way across Poohbah Lake and down Poohbah Creek. And I was now heading upriver, starting with Flat Rapids, where the Malign empties into Tanner Lake.
attempt at flat rapids did not go as expected. I'm going to try this again here. Thinking that all the rest of these rapids would have portages, but it doesn't appear that's the case. And I'm looking at my map again, and I don't know whether my map is correct or not, but it's looking like there might be a decent few set of rapids to line wade or paddle up the side of, but yeah, only about 2 kilometers before I'm back on Sturgeon Lake, but it's definitely going to be it's the tough 2 kilometers. Quite an impressive set of rapids there. Definitely not one of those ones. I think just up ahead I've got one more portage, and that should bring me out into Sturgeon Lake.
One more straightforward portage, and I was back on Sturgeon. It was another tough but absolutely beautiful day on the water, and I was definitely rewarded with some amazing scenery and wildlife on the Malign. What an awesome last couple days I'd had. The morning of day 5 was glass calm and absolutely perfect for paddling across Sturgeon Lake. With the last couple of days being fairly difficult travel, I really wasn't able to fish as much as I'd like. But that, much to Betty Lou's delight, would change today. For those of you that don't have a cattle dog to go fishing with, all I can say is it adds a whole new element to the experience.
There we go. A little bit bigger. It's a nice little pike. Back in the water. See you, buddy. Nice fish. Another decent pike. Not a bad fish at all. It's a gorgeous pike. Very healthy. We'll get him back in the water here. Just a little guy. Another pike. Another not bad fish though. Betty. It's not bad at all. Beauty little pike. Okay, Lou, thank you. About as small as you can possibly catch a walleye, but thanks, buddy. Hello. See ya. It is so unbelievably calm right now on the lake. No breeze at all. Crazy. I think I might have, oh my god, that looks like a big bass. I think I might have found a new camping spot for the night. Oh my god, that is a nice bass. Please don't lose this guy. Oh my god, that's a nice bass. Holy man. Holy. This is pretty big. This might be my personal best. Holy sugar. Holy man, that thing's a toad. That is a friggin' beast. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous smallmouth. Okay, he's going back in. See ya, buddy. Oh my god, what a fish. They're literally jumping all over the place here. Like another one. My lure was just dangling over the side after I released another one. Look at this guy. That's not a bad fish. Huh. Oh, another nice one. Oh. This must be the 20th walleye I've caught now. This is awesome. There we go, another one on. Another one, beautiful. That's not a bad fish. It's not a bad one.
Eventually the fishing would come to an end, and we'd paddle back to a tiny island site where we'd fillet and fry up some fresh caught walleye.
There really isn't any better meal on a canoe trip than fresh caught fish. And this is so good. For all your help. Good girl. So good.
It would be a quiet night, other than listening to Betty Lou snore the night away, no doubt dreaming of more fish to come.
morning of day 6, I think today is, and another absolutely stunning day. Plan today is to make my way back up towards De Riviere, and I don't have an exact stop point I want to make. Maybe Dory, maybe I'll make it to Pickerel, maybe it'll be on Sturgeon. I don't really know. Just start making my way back close to Pickerel because I got to be out tomorrow. So. First walleye of the day. See you, buddy. Love it. Oh, there's another one. That's definitely a bass. Good girl, Lou.
As I trolled my way across Sturgeon Lake, I would hook into what was possibly the fish of a lifetime. At first, I thought I was just snagged, but after a few runs, I knew this was a huge fish.
This wind is really making it. Oh. Probably a sign that's a pretty good fish. Oh, unless I foul hook something. Forearm's gonna fall off here, Lou. Little forearms on me. Ah! I've heard of that happening. I've never had it happen to me before. That is super disappointing because that was a big fish. Ugh. Oh, that hurts. This is a Rapala tail dancer. And oh, that was a big fish. I am super disappointed that didn't get to land that fish. That lure breaking like that, that should not happen. That should not happen. Not on an expensive lure like that too. Those aren't cheap. And there's no piece of wire connecting the lip of that lure to the actual hook. Oh man. Super disappointing. It was like a 4-minute fight that ended. It was only 15, 20 feet from the boat. Oh man, that sucks. What can you do? What can you do? Live and learn, I guess.
As weird as it might sound, not catching this fish was actually the highlight of the trip for me. I've never experienced a fish fight this hard or had one feel so big on the rod. I've caught some big pike, salmon, Lakers, but nothing like this one. I actually think what I'd hooked onto was a sturgeon, a fish that I've never actually seen, but heard stories about how big and powerful they can become. I guess at the end of the day, I'll never actually know what it was. But returning to Sturgeon Lake to see if I can catch whatever this was is definitely on my trip list.
Just came up to this little set of rapids where the Pickerel River flows into Sturgeon Lake, and probably caught my nicest walleye of the trip. It's not a bad, probably 4 or 5 pound walleye anyways. Beautiful, beautiful fish. So close, but not quite, Lou. There we are. Come on.
This would end up being my final day of the trip, with a tailwind making my travel easy and high winds in the forecast. I decided to paddle all the way back to Stanton Bay. This had been another incredible trip to Quetico, and a clear reminder to me of just how amazing canoeing in Ontario is. Canoeing past places I'd visited with Ashley years ago, remembering silly moments from past trips and making new memories at the same time.
Keenan, how much fun is this?
Oh, well, it's that much fun.
Yeah.
Having moose walk up to you, watching beavers swim past your canoe, dealing with swampy water and portaging through burns. It's all part of canoe tripping in Ontario's canoe country. It's an incredible place that we're lucky to have, and I already can't wait to go back, to make more memories, and maybe even catch that fish of a lifetime.